Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with an update video today. We'll go through some of the main newspapers here in Spain, check out what is happening in the press today, some of the articles that have caught my attention. Then at the end of the video, we'll go into the comment section and take a look at what is happening there. Now there's a few interesting stories around today, so we'll take a look at some of those. There's an interesting story about the Spanish property market and how it is booming at the moment. There's another story about the Spanish vaccine IPRA, and apparently it has entered phase 2 trials. The Spanish pension system is also making headlines today, so we'll take a look at an article related to that, and we'll see if it's possible for Spain to follow Austria and confine people that are not vaccinated. Now let's get into the news, and the first thing we're going to look at today is the housing market here in Spain, and it is extremely hot at the moment. And if we have a look at this article from El Mundo and the headline, "Buying a house at the height of the housing boom." Somebody says, "I've never seen anything like it. If you buy a house, you either close the purchase right away or you lose it." And if we take a look at a map of the country, we can see where some of the hotspots are around the country. For example, Catalonia. We can see that there's been 8,396 house sales there. The Valencian community, 7,617. Madrid, 7,071. And the main hotspot here in Spain at the moment, Andalusia, 11,843 house purchases. And if we have a look at the story of a couple who have recently bought, Matthias and Raquel have just signed the earnest money deposit for their future home in Moratalaz, the same neighbourhood in Madrid where they have been renting for more than 3 years. We started to notice a lot of movement in the market, and we saw that prices were also starting to rise. So we thought that this was the right time to buy. The price? €225,000 for a 3-bedroom, 90 square metre flat. So there we go. If you're looking for property here in Spain and you find a place that you like, close the deal quickly because it won't be available tomorrow, according to what we just read. And as we also saw in that article, the market is extremely hot at the moment. And what are some of the reasons? Well, according to the article, housing continues to be the refuge for many investors and small savers in Spain, and that explains much of the emergence of the residential market in the country as a result of the pandemic. The statistics show that the good moment that the real estate sector is going through and how the appetite of buyers grew at the end of the summer season, supported by low interest rates and record savings of families, adds Francisco Iñárritu, spokesperson for the real estate portal Idealista. So Spanish people have money in their pocket, and where do they invest that money? In real estate. Now, I've seen a few comments in recent times from people asking if the Spanish vaccine is ready, or if not, when it is going to be ready. And according to this headline in today's version of El Confidencial, the Spanish vaccine against COVID-19 getting closer and closer. It goes to phase 2 of the clinical trial. Prime Minister Sanchez has explained that the study will be carried out in 10 Spanish hospitals and will have the participation of 1,000 patients. So the Spanish vaccine made by the company IPRA getting closer and closer according to all reports. And is this vaccine going to be a more effective vaccine, more effective than the vaccines that were rushed to market, the Modernas, the Pfizers, the Janssen's, the AstraZenecas, because it has taken so long? That is the question. I don't know the answer, but Prime Minister Sanchez is extremely upbeat, as he normally is, about this vaccine. And he said yesterday that it is extraordinary news for science and Spanish society, and it's a reason for the pride of the country. So we'll see if the Spanish vaccine is as good as all of the hype surrounding it suggests. Now, the Spanish pension system is again making headlines. As we know, the government is currently trying to reform the pension system here in Spain because Brussels has said that it needs to be done. All of the social agents here in Spain, for example, the trade unions and the business lobbies, have been sitting down with the government trying to work out how to reform the pension system. But bad news yesterday because the business lobby said that they weren't going to agree on the measures put forward. And as we can see from this headline, the government and the trade unions agree without the employers or business lobbies on an increase in contributions to guarantee the sustainability of pensions. And basically what the government and the trade unions have agreed on is that companies or employers pay more into the system for the workers. And where will the increase come from? Company profits, of course. And one thing that a lot of companies already complain about a lot here in Spain is that social security contributions for workers are already very high. And now the government and the trade unions agreeing to make them even higher. And the final thing we'll talk about today, and it is a topic that is dominating headlines around Europe today, the fact that Austria has said that it is going to confine people that are not vaccinated against COVID-19. And one Spanish news outlet, Antena 3, has asked the question, would it be legal to confine the unvaccinated against COVID-19 in Spain? And if we read on, we can see several communities are considering demanding the COVID certificate. However, for the moment, it would not be legal to follow the example of Austria, which has confined about 2 million people for not being vaccinated against the coronavirus. According to José Bestard, an expert in health law, Spain could not replicate the Austrian restriction. If the government wanted to apply it, it certainly could not do so through the state of alarm decrees, he said. So there we go. It seems some good news for the unvaccinated here in Spain that the government won't be able to confine the unvaccinated to their homes as has been done in Austria. And I'm sure that a lot of people are happy that Spain won't be taking that hardline approach when it comes to people that have decided not to be vaccinated for whatever reason against COVID-19. However, when it comes to COVID certificates and whether you need them to enter certain public spaces, it might be a different matter because, as we saw there, various autonomous communities are considering implementing them in the near future. Now we'll leave the news there and take a look at some of the comments from recent videos. One here from Frank, what does Empty Spain stand for? Yeah, Frank, thanks for the comment and referring to an article that we saw yesterday about a new political party that has been set up and is called Empty Spain. And basically, Empty Spain means parts of the country that are becoming depopulated, places that are losing services like banks and other essential services, schools, for example, because every year more and more people move to big cities. This is becoming a problem in various parts of the country, for example in the Castillas, Castilla-León, Castilla-La Mancha. In Aragon it has been a problem for a long time now in places like Teruel, also in places like Huesca. Galicia also, and people in these parts of the country have said enough is enough and have decided to set up a political party. And according to the article that we saw yesterday, they could get up to 15 seats in the national parliament. And if that is the case, they could have an influence on who governs the country. So we'll see at the next elections whether or not the España Vaciada or Empty Spain party reaches that figure. One here from Timothy, biometric passports do not need stamps. They are scanned. They may be stamped as a secondary or redundant administrative procedure. No one needs to worry that arrival departure records are not being kept. Yeah, Timothy, thanks for the comment and thanks for your input on the subject of passports not being stamped here in Spain. We've seen a few people in the comment section in recent times say that they are worried because the police did not stamp their passports when they left Spain, and of course with the new 90-180 rule, worried that it might affect them coming back to Spain in the near future. So thanks for pointing out that biometric passports do not need to be stamped when people arrive or leave a country and that all records are being kept. One here from London, Paris. This sentence at the 6-minute 29-second mark tells you everything. The increase in the number of infections in the last week has led to a resurgence in the use of this document, the COVID passport, as a way of differentiating between those who are vaccinated and those who are not, so that the former are not harmed. If vaccinated people are supposedly not developing the disease, why would the unvaccinated be harming the vaccinated? Wouldn't the unvaccinated be more at risk? This was never about saving people's lives. In London, Paris, thanks for the comment, but yesterday there was a bad translation and the word harmed should have read disadvantaged, so that the former are not disadvantaged. And what they mean by that is that instead of putting restrictions on everybody, which is what happened here in Spain earlier this year, didn't matter whether you were vaccinated or not, you still couldn't travel between different regions. If, for example, they only put restrictions on people that haven't been vaccinated, people that have been vaccinated, the majority here in Spain won't suffer restrictions. And what I did learn from the comment section yesterday is just how many people still have their head buried in the sand when it comes to the effectiveness of COVID-19 vaccines. Yes, you can still get COVID-19. Yes, you can still get sick, but the chances of you going to hospital are greatly reduced. And anybody who thinks that that is not the case is an absolute... And finally, one here from Just the Swede. Abascal probably did not mean you, Stuart. He probably means people coming for the welfare, free housing, etc., mostly from the MENA countries. Yeah, Just the Swede, thanks for the comment, and given Mr. Abascal's track record, I have no doubt that he was not referring to people like me when he made his comments about extending the period of time that you need to live in Spain before you can apply to become a Spanish citizen from 10 to 15 years. Various newspapers, for example El País, pointed out the exact group of people that he was referring to. And you're right, he was singling out people from the group of countries that you mentioned in your comment the MENA countries. So we'll wait and see what happens on this issue and whether or not other political parties support Mr. Abascal's bill. On that note, I'll wrap the video up. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the video out as you normally do. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.